Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
I ran across an article on my own the other day. I thought to myself, no one sent this to me yet? Come on, you guys are slacking. I'm just kidding. I read a lot of different news sources, but I ran across one called legalnews.com, and that's one that lawyers often look at. And this one, of course, caught my eye because it happened in Michigan and it happened in Detroit. So I talked recently about towing scams. And there's a variety of different towing scams. There's the one in Philadelphia where your legally parked car could be courtesy towed and dumped in an illegal spot where it can then be ticketed and hauled away and then auctioned off. But there's other towing scams out there. And I mentioned some towing scams that happened in Detroit. And I said, look, it's not isolated to Philadelphia. And I had several people say, Steve, but you don't get what the towing scam really is. And then they would explain to me what they think it is. And the point is, there's actually a variety of different scams out there. It's not like all the scammers do the exact same scam. So what I liked about this story is that it's a slightly different version, but it's crazy. Business owner arraigned on multiple felony charges for alleged towing scheme from legalnews.com. The Michigan Attorney General has announced that the owner of a towing company was arraigned on multiple felony charges after allegedly selling cars for which he fraudulently obtained titles. Okay? So he wouldn't just tow the cars. Somehow he ended up owning the cars, at least on paper. The man was charged in the 36th District Court in Detroit on several charges. One count of conducting a criminal enterprise, which is a 20-year felony. 13 counts of uttering and publishing false bills of sale for abandoned vehicles, a 14-year felony. And he was arraigned on these charges just last month and then granted a $20,000 personal recognizance bond, which basically means that they said you have a $20,000 bond, but you don't have to post the money. We're going to trust you on that one. We're going to let you leave right now and go home. When you come back to court when we ask you to, you'll be fine. If you don't come back to court when we ask you to, then you're going to owe $20,000 and we're going to come look you up and bring you in. So $20,000 personal recognizance bond. Through his company, the man is alleged to have towed vehicles as a private contractor for a number of apartment complexes in Detroit. So one of the scams I mentioned before is that there's lists of towing companies that are approved by the city. So for instance, if two cars get in an accident and the cops need to have the cars towed, they call somebody on the list and the people come out and tow it, and then they charge you, $3 trillion to have your car given back to you and $4 trillion a day in storage or thereabouts. But here, the guy wasn't working for the city of Detroit. He was working for private apartment complexes. So as I complained about yesterday, I've pointed out that apartment complexes are privately owned. And so a lot of apartment complexes and businesses will have a sign up that says, parking for this apartment complex tenants only. Or a business will say parking for this business and its customers and patrons only. And all others are subject to tow, and then it'll have a sign with things that says, and the towing company's going to tow you is this towing company right here. So some people ignore those signs to their detriment, and some people honor those signs and park elsewhere. So it is alleged that after towing a vehicle, this guy would then apply to the Department of State for a title to the vehicle. He would then sign the title for the company as the custodian of the vehicle. And then he'd also sign the title as a Detroit Police Department representative, although, and this is the tricky part, this is where it falls apart, he was not, in fact, a Detroit Police Department representative. Now, I know it's hard to remember whether or not you're actually a representative of the Detroit Police Department. I always forget. I'm not. Pretty sure I'm not. You might be. I don't know. But he was signing titles as both the company that towed the vehicle and as a Detroit Police Department representative who I believe would be signing off on the fact that the vehicle was abandoned. So the Attorney General says, my office is committed to holding fraudsters who manipulate the system for their own gain accountable. And a preliminary exam on these charges is set for July 29 in the 36th District Court. 36th District Court is the district court for downtown Detroit. It's a very, very large court. I've been there many, many times. And I've told some stories about that court also. But the interesting thing is what happens here, just to make sure this is clear, This guy would tow a vehicle, and after he took possession of it, he would then file the paperwork to say it was abandoned. Therefore, I towed it. I've got a lien on it for the towing charges. I want to then take possession of the vehicle and get title to it and that. And now there's a process for doing that. But usually there's other things you've got to do. So for instance, you have to notify the person who owns the car and say, hey, your car has been towed. Here's how much you owe. And then if there is in fact a lien on the car that you want to take care of, you can then auction the car. And there's a process for doing that also. And that actually involves you doing things like publicly notifying that the car is going to be auctioned off. And believe it or not, the statute at one point in time said you would do things like take out ads in the local newspaper or put notices up at the courthouse. But there are newspapers for attorneys like the Legal News where they actually post notices of auctions. And you'll actually see in there cars being auctioned off because of mechanics liens or towing liens. But it looks like the guy was cutting some corners here. And this story is actually rather short. So I don't know if he actually notified anybody that the car had been towed or if he just did this with everybody. But this is a dangerous game to play. And this is one where you wonder, how long did this guy think he could get away with this without getting caught? Because let's take a typical example of you or me. We take our car and drive it to visit our friends in an apartment complex. We come out, the car is gone. So we call the police. Hey, car got stolen. Police show up and they go, oh no, car wasn't stolen. You parked it here. They recognize it as a non-tenant car. It got towed. You got to call that company right there. You call that company, go, where's my car? Now the guy might go, well, it's a $500 tow and it's, $500 a day storage. And I've already had it for half a day. So that's a full day. They do math funny. And, so it's not like the guy is going to be able to get away with this every single time where he gets to keep the car. And it might be that somebody who's got a clunker might not pursue it the same as somebody who's got a more valuable car. But if it's your car and you drove it there, it must have some value. It got you from point A to point B. It just got towed at point B. So it seems to me that someone somewhere along this line is going to go, I wonder what happened to my car. And in case you don't know this, your car has a unique identifier called a vehicle identification number. And the state tracks vehicles by their VINs. And so if you want to, you can contact the state, at least you can in Michigan, and say, I want to get the title history to my car. And they actually say you can only do this on your car, you can't do it on someone else's car without good reason and so on. So you can do what's called a title lookup. And you pay them, and it's not that expensive, a couple bucks a record. But you can get all the records that the state of Michigan's got on your VIN. And now, if your car came from out of state, they won't have records from another state. But if your car was delivered new in Michigan, traded hands several times in Michigan, now you've got it. If you buy the title history from Lansing, you'll get copies of everything, including the certificate of origin, first owner, second owner, all the way up to you, and including all the transfers and applications for title that show who had it and who sold it for what. So if you were to run the VIN on your vehicle that was towed by these people, you'd find in there a document signed by one guy twice as two different people. One is the towing rep, one is the Detroit rep, city cop. And you'd immediately spot there's a problem there. So this is a weird scam. Apparently it worked to where he got away with it for a few occasions. It says here they got him for 13 counts of uttering and publishing false bills of sale. And I suspect that the bill of sale was allegedly generated at an auction. But I could be wrong about that. There's different methods for taking care of the liens on a vehicle that arise from towing and mechanics and so on. And I will tell you that I recently had an article that I wrote published by caredge.com. This is not a commercial. I'm just mentioning this. And so in the article, I was talking about how to get a replacement title if you don't have the title to a vehicle. So it ties in here. I'll put the link below the description of the video. But this is a crazy scam. And it appears, like I said, that the guy was running a towing business, towing cars for private entities. He would tow the vehicles and then get title to the vehicles by fudging a little on the paperwork. And he wind up with title to the vehicle. Then he can sell it and do whatever he wants with it. So it was fun while it lasted, but right now he's facing a 20-year felony and a whole stack of 14-year felonies. And he's out on bond right now, but he's going to be back in court in July. And I'll try to follow up on this one because it looks like a fun one too. Questions or comments, put them below. Otherwise, talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Millions of people living as foes. Maybe it's not too late to learn how to love and forget how to hate.